Welcome to episode number 56 of the American Regularis Podcast. I'm your host, JD Walter, and boys and girls, we are going to cover it all today. Elon, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Kash Patel on Joe Rogan. It's going to be a doozy of an episode. Before we get into it, which is going to be in just one moment, please like and subscribe. Comments, help me out with the algorithm, right? Tell your friends, get everyone listening, everything you do. I really appreciate you guys. So, let's not beat around the bush. We have had a big old Republican celebrity breakup on par with the time, now maybe not Republican, but I'd say this celebrity breakup is similar to when Amber Heard pooped on Johnny Depp's bed. I would say it's that big of a deal, maybe bigger. For those of you who haven't been watching the news, been on YouTube, checking X or Twitter or whatever you want, if you've had your head in the sand or been camping the last 2 days, you may not know this, but Elon and Donald Trump, Elon Musk, for those of you, if I need to clarify, they're on the fritz. They're on the outs. They no longer like each other, and it started with what Donald Trump and his proponents or cronies, whatever you want to call it, they're calling it the big, beautiful bill. Now, those of you that listen to the show, you know I'm a wild-eyed libertarian. There's no such thing as a big, beautiful bill, and no matter how much they tell you about the stuff in it that I might like, all in all, it's just an absolute boondoggle. Before we start talking about the specifics of the big, beautiful bill, though, let's just get into the Donald Trump, Elon Musk feud. This all starts happening. The big, beautiful bill comes out, and Elon Musk does not like it, and he voices his opinion on Twitter, and he says, hey, guys, go write your Congress people. Let them know that this thing is atrocious. Now, obviously, Donald Trump, he's trying to pass it. It's, just after 100 days into office. He wants to get it through. Of course, he thinks it's great. He calls it the big, beautiful bill. Now, the hypocrisy of that, if Joe Biden passed a bill and it was raising the debt ceiling, what is it, $3 trillion? An increased projection of a $3 trillion increase. He would call it disastrous. He'd call it catastrophic, dangerous, because it is those things. But a lot of his talking points are in it, and some of them I agree with. There, you got the no tax on tips. I think they're giving a better tax deduction for having a kid. Some of these things. But Elon says, no, we're not having it. Donald Trump then kind of goes on the offensive and comes after Elon, and he says this isn't about, and also this big, beautiful bill, because of this $3 trillion increase. Remember, the whole reason these two guys were like these lovebirds for the past year is because Elon Musk kind of believed in Donald Trump and that he was going to rectify. A lot of people did. And so far, I got to say, I don't think Trump's followed through. Besides immigration, I think he's done pretty well on. And RFK Jr. is getting some of the Make America Healthy stuff through. But otherwise, his foreign policy has been failing so far. Obviously, Ukraine war is still going on. It went from I'll end it the first day I'm in office to the first 100. And then the other day there's a quote of him going, oh, you just got to let them fight it out a little bit. Just like kids on the street. Sometimes you just got to let them fight it out for a little bit. So he's failed on a lot of regards. And I think this big, beautiful bill is more of a big, beautiful disaster. And Elon Musk thinks so too. So to be fully transparent right up front, okay, if you're listening and you're on Trump's side, that's fine. But I'm not going to be acting like some sort of unbiased arbiter. I think Elon Musk is much more in alignment with what I believe right now. So if we go back, he thought, hey, Trump's going to get away all this waste, fraud, and abuse. And they formed DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency. And Elon Musk goes in there with Vivek Ramaswamy, who left very early, which is weird. I wonder if, some of this was, if Vivek Ramaswamy leaving so soon wasn't some sort of writing on the wall for all of this to go down, right? The triumvirate is falling apart, we could say. But Elon Musk believes in Donald Trump. He definitely doesn't believe in the Democrats who had just acted atrociously with the Biden cover-up and putting in just a shell of a political hack in Kamala Harris. So he ends up spending like over $250 million on getting Trump elected, campaigning hard for him, going to Pennsylvania, doing all this stuff, and then goes into the Doge cuts. Now, Department of Government Efficiency, Elon's trying to get all this stuff cut. And so when he sees this big, beautiful bill, that's what we'll call it, regardless of if I agree with any of it other than it's a big bill. It's certainly not beautiful. Musk is, according to himself, very upset that this is canceling out all the work that the Department of Government Efficiency was doing, the Doge, right? He's upset that it's raising the debt. He says it's unsustainable, which it is, and it has been for a very, very long time. However, Trump has his own version on why Elon Musk is coming after the bill, why he is in disagreement while he's on Twitter, which, by the way, if we remember X, I guess, he bought Twitter. Basically, one of the main reasons why was because of free speech and where Trump was banned. So that was billions of dollars, you could say arguably, in support of Trump, or at least some of Trump's ideas, well before the $250 million for the election. So let's listen to what Trump says, the real reason Elon Musk is so mad at the big, beautiful bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. The criticism that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, regarding Elon Musk and your big, beautiful bill, what's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which, of course, what is you're seeking?
Well, look, I've always liked Elon, and it's always very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about $1.6 trillion in cuts. It's the biggest tax cut. You would say, people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. We are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable. And when you look at what we're doing for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all of the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And, Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. And, they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles, and they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And, Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago. That's been in there. I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, Mr. Secretary. That hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that just...
So there you go. He says Elon Musk was fine with the bill. The reason that he's now upset with the bill is because he found out it's going to cut EV subsidies. And there's videos of Elon Musk from years ago saying he doesn't believe that we should be subsidizing things, which is somewhat hypocritical because Elon's companies have taken tons of subsidies, but at least he's out there saying no. So if we take Elon at face value at all, and he's mad that all of his work in Doge is now coming up dry, and in the past, before all this had ever happened, he says, no, I'm not even a big believer in subsidies. I think it's fair to assume the reasons Elon Musk says he's upset with this bill is the real reason. He's on the side of Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, the only fiscally honest people, Don Johnson, is it Ron Johnson, Don Johnson, whoever it is, in D.C. right now. He's on their side. And he's been outspoken about the government spending, the government debt and deficits. He said if this was any private entity, any corporation, that they would be investigated for fraud and shut down. The CEO from the movie The Big Short, played by Christian Bale's name's like Michael Burley or something. He goes, hey, when you're paying, and this is true, this is where we're right at. He's like, if you're paying 20%, if 20% of all the tax revenue of the U.S., I think it's like 18% is what I saw on ChatGPT or something like that. If 18% of every dollar of tax revenue is going towards paying off the interest on the national debt, not even the debt, but just the interest. It's like that's a Ponzi scheme. That's what we're at right now. And it's only going to get worse, especially when we're raising a bill to raise the debt ceiling, another trillions more dollars. And so for Trump and all the people, like so many people in the media right now, they're sticking up for his excessive spending. I like Michael Knowles for, by and large, whatever disagreements I have with him. But he was like, oh, well, the Republicans tried, cutting spending for 25 years and it didn't work out. It's like, when? Tell me when have the Republicans actually been a fiscally responsible political party? Because it's not true. That's just a blatant lie. They spend as much as anyone. They just speak out of both sides of their mouth about it, right? When Mike Johnson calls himself a deficit hawk and a debt hawk, and then Trump is talking about this and he's hiring Elon to get rid of all the inefficiency of government, and then it's a big beautiful bill. It's completely antithetical to small government and responsible ledgers, right? This is no way to be, well, one, moral, and two, efficient in the way they're handling their money. Look, it comes down to it. On that video we just watched, Donald Trump's going, and he says, oh, look, it's the largest cut in history. It's always the largest cut. It's always the biggest thing. It's always the biggest and the best with him. But it's the largest cut in history. It's not cutting what? He's talking about taxes. It's the largest tax cut in history. But let's listen to someone that knows a little bit more, and that's Ron Paul, right? Government spending. This is a quote from the great Ron Paul, and it lets you know, yes, I like tax cuts. I like the idea of not taxing the tips of waiters. It's a bunch of college kids and single moms. Yeah, we don't need to tax their tips, right? So fine. But calling it this big tax cut is a lie when you're raising the deficit. When you're going to raise the debt ceiling $3 trillion, right? This is from Ron Paul, and this is all we need to know. Government spending is always a tax burden on the American people, and it is never equally or fairly distributed. The poor and the low middle income workers always suffer the most from deceitful tax or inflation and borrowing. Simply put, you can cut all the taxes you want, but if you're still racking up the debt, you're still going to hurt the little guy, because it's just going to become more of an insidious inflation tax. So it might look good on paper. Look, I cut these taxes. Well, that kid's tips, that single mom's tips are going to be that much more worthless, because the dollar is going to be eroded from your reckless spending. And we're already paying 20% interest. 20% of our tax revenue is already going just to pay off the interest on this thing. So until you address government spending, the tax cuts are just window dressing. They don't mean anything. They have no weight. They have no merit, by and large, right? It's like, at this point, it's like you're working on healing scratches and nicks and cuts on someone, and you're just ignoring the internal hemorrhaging from their liver or whatever the hell happened, right? You're just doing the little stuff, the cosmetics. You got to address the real issue. And you hear these guys like Mike Johnson. Listen to this.
That what we're delivering in this bill is not only historic tax cuts, but historic savings as well. He seems to miss that. The projection is that this legislation is going to save us $1.6 trillion with a T. Now, there's never been a piece of legislation ever delivered in the history of government on the face of the earth that saves that much money. So this is truly historic. Now, is it enough? No, because all three of us understand that we have a large federal debt. We've had deficits for some time, and it's a serious concern. In fact, it's the number one threat to our national security. But this is the biggest step in addressing that problem that Congress has ever delivered, and we must do it. And I will hasten to say this. I've told Elon and tell everyone, this is the first of a series of steps that we will take to bring that debt under control.
Okay, the first of a series of steps to bring this debt under control is to raise the debt ceiling and have a projection of $3 trillion. It's a cut because we lowered the projection. This is the age-old comparison of when we're driving off that debt cliff, right? And we're going at 90 miles an hour, right? And instead of pushing on the brakes, we go, Well, now we're, instead of like slamming it, turning around, it's like, well, we let off the gas. We were projected to go off this debt cliff at 90 miles an hour. We're now going to go off of it at 82 miles an hour. That's a big first step. It's like, okay, well, maybe we hurry up. And the second step of slamming the brakes, cranking on the wheel, hitting the e-brake, whatever. Maybe we should start straight with those. Javier Milei did it. Argentina had a debt to GDP ratio of 88.5% or 88.4%, if we want to catch me on being semantic or whatever. Within a month or two of him being in office, they were running budget surpluses. You can cut spending if you want to. So don't tell me the first step you have to do to get $36 trillion of debt wrapped up, the first step in trying to reduce $36 trillion of debt is to say, hey, we're going to spend another $3 trillion. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I don't care if that comes from Donald Trump, and I don't care if it comes from Mike Johnson or any other person that wants to sit there and pretend that they're fiscally conservative. It's just a dumb lie. It's not believable. No one who is honestly, marginally intelligent and honest with themselves without extreme partisanship can sit there and say, oh yeah, that's the first thing you do. You're going to cut your spending. The first thing you do is throw another $3 trillion worth of debt on. And by the way, when you raise that ceiling, there's never been a time where that ceiling isn't blown through and hit. It's not like they're going to raise it $3 trillion and say, hey, but we did end up not going there. We actually ended up reducing the deficit, reducing the debt, even though we raised the debt ceiling. That's not going to happen. That money's all going to be allocated somewhere. And look, and now with the tax cuts, that'll just make inflation worse because there's going to be less tax revenue, and so they'll print more money and things will get more expensive. So these tax cuts are, like I said, they're window dressing. They're just Band-Aids on a big wound until we actually address the fact that our government is massively in debt. They're taxing the richest people in the history of the earth, and they're $36 trillion in debt. And Donald Trump's doing nothing for that. So you can be happy about what he's doing with immigration, but there's nothing that the Republicans can do at this point unless they decide to put Rand Paul and Thomas Massie in charge. There's nothing they can do at this point to make me think that they have any room to speak about fiscal responsibility or to talk down to the Democrats or the liberals. It's wildly, what do they call it, out of pocket. Is that what the kids say? Or they did say it. Might already be old news. All right. It doesn't stop there, though. Let's get back into Trump and Elon's little fallout. So during that video, we hear him kind of attack the credibility of Elon Musk. Oh, it's not about principles. It's not that he actually got mad that we're doing all the stuff that he hates and we're throwing all of his work at Doge out the window and we're raising the debt. No, it's because it's going to hurt his bottom line. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He bought Twitter at an exorbitant price, not because he was trying to make a profit, which the media ramped up. Oh, look, he's losing money on it. Look, he's losing money. He wanted to lose money on it. He's the richest man in the world. He gets to burn money when he wants to. He did that for X. He didn't do Doge. He didn't put a quarter, I don't believe, he put $250 million down on Trump because he thought it would ultimately get him greater profits. I don't think he needs that. I think he was a true believer. Now, Trump calls him out on that. He goes, no, it's not that. He's looking for the bottom line. It's all about money, not principles. This makes Elon pretty angry. And he gets off on a couple of rants on X, the company he owns. And basically, the big one that's turning everybody's head is that he says, by the way, the reason the Epstein files haven't been released is because Donald Trump is in there. He's in the Epstein files. So I've heard a lot of different stuff on this. My first take is we kind of already knew that. Now, that maybe he's implying that it's something disastrous and evil, like half the country would probably love to hear and the other half would never, ever believe, right? That he was doing something extremely malicious with underage girls or something. But we already knew that Donald Trump was acquaintances or colleagues or something with Jeffrey Epstein at one point, right? There's video of them carousing at some, highfalutin dinner party. There's quotes about it. We know he was a member of Mar-a-Lago, which Trump ended up kicking him out. So these Epstein files, to not mention that the President of the United States knew him, like, I would be very surprised if he wasn't. I'd be shocked if Trump wasn't in the files. Now, maybe that's just Elon Musk's way to try to put a barb out on Trump. Maybe he knows. I don't know why he would have that information. I guess if you're the richest man in the world and you're working in the government, you might have some connections. But Musk kind of is insinuating that it might be more than what we know. Okay. I've also heard some conspiracies that I never believe in the Trump playing 4D chess. I think he has good intuitions and instincts on some simple stuff. I do not think Trump plays 4 moves ahead ever. One I heard was someone thinking that this was like a ruse, and Trump and Elon were plotting this and just trying to do this to get the Democrats on board with releasing the Epstein files, because you saw, like, on Twitter, like, right away, what's his name? Representative Swalwell, the Chinese spy guy. He was all about it. He's like, release the files. And you saw that from other people. Here's the thing. I'm not an expert. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know the chain of custodies and all this stuff. But couldn't Donald Trump just declassify the Epstein files if he wanted to? Couldn't he just do that? Or couldn't he at least put his, kind of put his foot on the throat at whoever's responsible for doing that? I think he can declassify stuff if he wants. So I don't think that's the case. It'll be interesting to see what becomes of that. My guess is nothing. But look, I don't know. I don't know if that really gives us. It's interesting, and whatever we can do, I'll join up with Swalwell and everyone else. We can go a witch hunting, and I'll have pitchfork and torch in hand, as long as we get those files out. That's what we need. I'm all for it, and we can sit there and we can have a witch hunt on Trump or Bill Clinton or any of them, and damn it, whatever information we find. Right? I'll help pile the wood underneath the stake, right? But besides that, I don't know. Other than the fact that this huge breakup is pretty official, you can't go back on it. Also, not a good look for Elon when he's saying, look, I know that Trump's on the Epstein files, and the insinuation itself is that, and it's severe. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth mentioning. So if that's the case, it reflects bad on Elon. He's like, not only do I know this is the guy I spent $250 million on, and I've been friends with, and he takes photo ops with my boy Ash X Delta THC 9 or whatever his name is. He's like, all those things, and you knew all that the whole time? But now you're coming clean with it because he's mad about the bill, which I'm mad about the bill too, but that was the one thing that got you over it. Why didn't you, see something, say something a little bit sooner on the Epstein files, Elon? So that's a pretty bad look. So like I said, I don't think the Donald Trump Epstein files are going to be that big of a deal. His name's probably in them, but if they were that big, I think that part would have got leaked. Not all the Epstein files, but I bet you the Epstein files that had real big dirt on Donald Trump, you don't think those would have been leaked sometime in October last year? No? All right. And that's my thoughts on that. We'll certainly follow up with it as things progress, if need be. The second thing I want to talk about is yesterday I was getting my butt kicked on putting a fire pit in my backyard. And my backyard's not very level, so I had to dig. And I'm telling you, I thought I had it all squared away and pretty good. And I just couldn't have done worse. Like, it's going to look nice. It's all but finished now. But I had 2 extra days of using a grinder to try to smooth everything out and get the actual fire pit to like fit nice and symmetrical. Man, I got my butt kicked. But while I was doing that yesterday, and I was listening to Joe Rogan and Kash Patel, I thought, oh, this will be good. And literally, the news drops. Young Jamie brings up the news about Elon Musk saying that stuff about Trump and Epstein during the interview. He was like, hey, this just came out. And Kash Patel's like, I'm not touching that. But what I thought was real interesting on Kash Patel was when they start talking about the Epstein files and the tapes and everything. And I got to say, Kash Patel did not do, in my mind, a very good job. Rogan didn't press him too hard and seemed to agree, say this was, but just a lot of stuff didn't add up. Like at one point they're talking about how he's like, oh, I don't believe Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. It's just, we've got the videos. We don't have it in the cell, but we got the videos and you can't tell what's going on. And there's just no way. And he goes, hey, how could people get to him? He goes, first off, think about that. How could anyone murder him? It's in this giant cell. Like, even if you're a billionaire, we have him, we've got guards, we've got cameras. And he's like, there's just no way you could. And it's like, well, there's one obvious way that makes it a lot easier. Because remember, some of the cameras weren't working. It makes, or at least they were said to have not worked, and then we hear that they do. There's all sorts of conflagration. Is that a word? Probably not. There's all sorts of conflation about what they do have and what they don't have on video. But the obvious answer is the government. If the government's in on it, it makes it a lot easier. It's very, very hard to get to a prisoner in maximum security, solitary confinement. Unless it's the people holding him that need to get to him, then it's pretty damn easy. Like he kind of, I thought that was a really obvious, weak answer. But he's talking about the different videos, and he says, hey, simultaneously, he says two different things. He's like, look, it's taken forever for us to watch all the videos, to look over everything. We're just now finishing up. And then the other thing he says is, hey, we just don't have the videos. We just don't have them. From the island and stuff, no, it's just not there. Very conflating, very confusing, very, very mixed on what he was trying to tell us. And I saw this on Twitter or X. I got to start calling it X one of these days. This is Kash Patel talking about it, what I just said on Joe Rogan yesterday. And then right after is Attorney General Pam Bondi. And they're both talking about video evidence or lack thereof on Epstein Island. So listen, the director of the FBI and the Attorney General have two very different stories. So let me know what you think, and think if we're out of the woods on this Jeffrey Epstein pedophile sex scandal cover-up.
Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island, and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going.
Okay, so which is it? Don't you think we'd know it? If we had that, don't you think you'd know? And then she's saying, look, thousands or whatever, videos, hours, whatever, of all this terrible, nefarious stuff. And the FBI is working diligently, which he said earlier. He goes, look, we have to go through all this video. Another weird thing he said is something like, you think we would show video and like re-victimize the women? If we did that, Jeffrey Epstein wins. Now, I'm not saying put it on the internet for the whole world to see or whatever. Like, I understand you can't just willy-nilly show sex crimes, right? Like, you can't do that, especially if they're underage. I mean, it's just by de facto illegal, let alone extremely immoral. But it has to be made public in some regard. Like, it has to be brought before credentialed journalists, fine, in this case, where they can say, yes, this is what it is. We had to witness this stuff. Or it has to be put in front of a jury, right? We don't get it. Sorry, you're the FBI. You're the State Department. We don't trust you anymore. We were there for COVID. We were there for the war on terror. We don't trust you. We're not going to, just because you're a new guy that says he's different, right? We need to know. We need to see. And it's not re-victimizing them. Putting those tapes out to the public and showing it, not, like I said, it doesn't have to be the general public. Someone in the public has to be able to verify it, right? Not of the government. They have to be able to verify it and say, this is what we have. We have a report on this. This is, documenting all of it. We have to know. That's not re-victimizing those girls that were getting hurt. That's helping bring justice to them. Right? Earlier, it was a matter of national security. It went real quick from national security to not re-damaging the girls, re-victimizing the girls. Still sounds like national security to me. That's me. That's what I believe. So, I don't know. Who do you believe? Let me know in the comments. Do you believe in Pam Bondi? Do you believe in Kash Patel? Are they both full of shit on different metrics? What do you know? How do we go about that? And how do you do that? What do you guys think? What's the best way to go about that? Because, yeah, I'm on board. If these underage girls on videotape, you can't show that to the public. But we have to have some sort of confirmation. There has to be some sort of people that are credentialed that can be obviously disaffiliated from the government that can confirm who it is. Can we get one arrest out of this? Can we not get a list? Like, we can't find anything out because of national security? I wish Rogan would have asked that. How is this national security? You tell me, Kash. That's really... You don't want to hear me criticize... You won't hear me criticize Joe Rogan a lot, but man, why is this national security? How is this a matter of national security that you can't release these files? Right? And if it is a matter of national security, how does it supersede justice being served for these victims, for the American public? What kind of national security risks are we running here? All right. Like I said, jam-packed. Tell me what you think. Elon, Trump, whose side are you on? Who's telling the truth? Bondi or Patel or nobody? And as always, we found out today that Ron Paul was right. Okay. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate you so much. Peace.